Okay, we're here this evening with Uncle Bert Ball, and we're here in Laurenceton, as you know, Friday, July 28th. And Uncle Bert, I'd just like to ask you now, where about are you in the family? You're not one of the oldest, and you're not the youngest.
I'm the second youngest boy
Okay, the second youngest boy.
out of six that lived.
Yeah, and so you're married to Margaret, was it?
Margaret Ash from Windsor. She was born in Grand Falls.
Okay, and how many children did you have? Can you
Our
remember?
family, 9.
Yeah, 9 in your family.
And we reared up our grandson. So that
Okay.
made it we reared up 10 children.
Yeah, so you lived in Glenwood most of your life, or when did you leave Laurenceton to go?
I left Laurenceton in 1947. 1947 and moved to Cornerbrook. And I worked in Cornerbrook 6 months.
Yeah.
And in September the 6th, 1947, I moved to Glenwood. Worked with Bo Waters there.
Okay, so did you ever go to work with Uncle Cease over there in the woods?
Yes, I did. Over on Usersbrook. I worked with him over there probably 2 or 3 years.
Okay, up in the woods.
Yeah, before that, in the 45s, 44, 45, and 46.
So can you remember much now about Laurenceton as such, like this little community here? Can you give us a few of your memories and of Robert and Charlotte? Because, you know, they're your parents, and give us a few memories of what you can remember about Laurenceton and growing up.
Well, I mean, Laurenceton was there was no connections by road. I mean,
No.
we went to Botwood, we had to go by boat.
Yeah.
And in the winter, of course, you either went on dog team or horse, or you
Okay.
skated up. I've done that a good many times.
Oh, have you?
Skate to Botwood.
Skate to Botwood?
Yeah, right.
So you weren't afraid of the ice?
Oh, no.
You were
No.
your parents let you
Right.
go on
Well,
out
oh,
on
yes.
the ice.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, even when we were married, that's the way the wife came out here. We were married out here. She came, and I went up and picked her up and brought her down on dog team.
Well, and so can you give us any, like, did you have chores and that now when you were growing up? Like, you all assigned certain...
Yeah, well,
you were all assigned certain chores?
when we were attending school, of course, 1935, I believe I finished school.
Yeah.
Well, in the wintertime, of course, summertime we had to look after the making of the hay for the cattle and setting the gardens. We always had gardens, like
Yeah.
potatoes and turnips and so on and so forth. And wintertime, of course, we used to have to look after the cattle when I was going to school.
Yeah.
We had so many sheep and probably a horse and a cow, you know, like that.
Now, was all this for your own use? Like,
Oh,
like
yes,
Grandfather
right.
Ball, he never sold the eggs or...
No, never, not eggs, but we used to sell potatoes and
Oh, yes.
and turnips, and in the fall of the year, lamb, you know, sheep. They used to kill these and sell them. And summertime, that was the years when there was thousands of capelin around. We dry the
Okay.
capelin or codfish,
Right on.
and that was part of our living.
Now-
Sell it to the stores in Botwood. But
Okay.
the most that we lived of course, was their gardens, you know.
Now, did you have to shear the sheep and those
Oh
types
yes,
of things?
yeah. I remember one time out there where
Uncle
Charlie's house is still there.
Oh, yes, yeah.
We I don't know how many sheep we had sheared. And of course we'd spread the wool out on the grass to dry.
Yeah.
And there was a whirlwind came and took it out in those big spruce trees, and some went out in the salt water.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you were just young fellow when you were...
we had to climb up in those trees now and pick
Yeah.
the wool out of the trees and go down to the beach and pick it up.
Now-
This whirlwind come down and took it.
So what did your mother take that wool in and spin it, or what did you used to do with
well,
that?
we used to, what they used to do, we had those cards, you know, little,
Oh, yes, yeah.
what they'd say, they'd take the wool and we'd pick out all the old
Yeah.
dirt, you know, where the sheep used to be in
sticks
the
and-
woods or
yeah.
sticks and that, and they'd card that then into rolls, and they'd send it to, I can't remember now, if it was New Brunswick or PEI, and get it
Is
done
that right?
in the, for the knit, the socks
Okay.
and sweaters and so on.
So now, Charlotte, your mom, what was she out was she responsible for the gardening, or what was it she was doing?
She used to do her part. She used to do her part
Yeah.
in the gardens, yeah.
And you'd have potato, carrot, the whole works.
Yes, rhubarb and everything that there was to be growing pretty well, we grew it.
Now, when you were going to school, Uncle Bert, I suppose you were all in the same classroom, the whole works
Yeah,
in one...
that's right. We had right up in the centre of Laurenceton there, they had, for most of the years I went to school, we had the one-room school.
Yeah.
And later on, of course, they had a two-room school. And we had those big old long seats, two people sitting in one of those wooden desks and iron sides. You know,
Did you have a lot of children in the school at that time, besides the Balls?
Oh, yes, there's different children, you know.
Yeah.
From different Hutchinses and the Ladrews and
Yeah.
the Jeffreys and all of these.
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
The Laurenceton names.
Yeah.
And Manuels.
Right, yeah.
The names was there.
So you left Laurenceton and then you just went on to work and...
That's right. I left Laurenceton in 1936.
Okay.
And moved to Indian Bay.
Yeah.
That year, Bowater started down there.
Yeah.
In 1936 in August we moved down there and we worked down there till 42.
Yeah. Now, Uncle Bert, can you remember now how many grandchildren you got? Have you got the count right in your head now, or
grandchildren? I
fair
guess
number? Because you had
16 or 17 grandchildren, I think.
Yeah. But you don't have any great.
Yes.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yes. A couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
A couple or three.
And like when you were growing up.
Probably if the wife was here, she could tell you there's more than
Yes.
that. I'll say that.
Well,
anyway, I'm sure we got that many.
That's a rough estimate.
Right, rough estimate.
That's what we'll go by, because with the family so big, we got to go rough estimates.
Right.
But like now, growing up here in Laurenceton, did you have were you out fishing with your father or anything like that, or because he was a fisherman, wasn't he?
Yeah, he used to summertime mostly. He had salmon that's out right down there off this island out there.
Yeah.
And I can remember that's when I was going to school then. I can remember one day we took 80 salmon out of one salmon net.
Is that right?
2 alls in the morning and in the evening. I tell you, salmon was plentiful then.
So you didn't have to have a certain quota or anything.
You
could keep whatever you caught.
Oh yes, yeah.
So now were the boys responsible for going out and helping with the nets and all that stuff?
Oh yes. Yeah, Wallace. He was around doing.
Now you and Wallace were really close in age.
Yeah.
You're only 3 years apart.
3 years older than what Wallace.
So he was more or less your buddy, but I suppose you had a few...
oh, yes, the purchases and the manuals, you know, the different ones.
Now, how in the world did Charlotte keep you all under wraps? Like, you know, I mean, a big family like that, how did she keep you all disciplined? Or were you all good little boys and girls?
That's beyond me.
Who was the worst one for carrying on? One of these guys here.
Bert.
Yes.
How are you?
Not too bad.
Do you know me?
Nels, is it?
Yes, sir.
Nels Purchase, is it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh yes, okay.
Yes, boy.
This is the guy you used to carry on with, I heard.
Oh, I dare say.
Weren't
yes.
you fellas always tormenting?
We all grew up together, you know.
Okay.
It's Nels here, and then
boy.
there was the other purchases, Kin and.
You were just like your brother Wilford, just
Yeah.
like him.
Yeah, well, when you seen one, you seen them all.
Yes, boy.
Yeah. I heard that you and someone told me now,
I
one of
dare
the
say somebody's
sisters,
telling lies on
that
us.
you and Nels Purchase were the ones who was always tormenting and carrying on. Is there any truth to
I
that?
believe they're telling noise on it.
Making fun of the old fellow, you know.
You used to torment, didn't you? Torment the girls and carry
Yeah,
on.
well,
And
We don't ever.
Everybody used to do that, sure.
yeah, I guess so. So you were a bad fella yourself.
Oh,
So you grew up here in Lawrence.
the worst of Adam's race.
So you were his buddy growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me any good stories about Uncle Bert now?
Uncle Bert's a good man.
He's a good man.
Oh, yeah, he's a good man.
And what did you fellas used to do now growing up? You two fellas. Can you remember anything that you would like to go on camera?
There's lots of things in my mind, but I don't want to.
They're too bad to tell by the sounds of it. So,
certainly tell one story.
oh, there must be one story there you can tell. Something you fellas did together. Something in back in the.
Tell her, Bert.
You got one?
I got lots of them, but
Yes.
You can't. You don't want them on film, do you? Oh, you must have been some bad fellas then, tormenting.
Yeah, we were like everybody else, I guess,
Yeah.
when we were growing up, boy.
just what.
Yeah.
Now, Uncle Bert, I suppose there's people here today you don't even know.
No, there's people here that I've never ever laid eyes on before.
Yeah.
Most of them, you know.
Yes.
Because we're scattered all over the place. When
Yeah.
you come to realize there's
That's right.
when you come to realize there's over 600
That's right, yeah.
from this generation.
Yes, boy.
Yeah.
That's something else, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
From Robert and Charlotte Ballers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because there's almost so many not here as there is here, I suppose.
Yeah. Now they taught you how to be a good worker. That's what I've gathered from talking to different ones here. They said that Robert and Charlotte taught you how to work.
How to be a good boy, but well, when we got out, going, you know.
He was a good worker though.
Well,
Where
you
did
had
you-
to be. You had to be in that. Well, you got to be now, I suppose, in those days. But
Yeah.
in them days, I mean, when you went to work, you went to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was it you worked at in the Bowwaters till you retired?
Well, I when we worked down in Indian Bay, I was first thing we did, we built a dam down there, and then we used to up on one of the ponds there. Father ran a camp there, was foreman of the camp.
Oh,
I
yes.
worked with him for a few years.
Yeah.
But 1947, I went to work with Bowwaters in Cornerbrook,
Yeah.
and I moved to Glenwood, and I worked with them until 1980. I retired.
So you've been in Glenwood
Yeah.
50 years.
I was I'm pretty well everything, scaling and
Yeah.
survey work and all of that,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. Well,
But
Uncle
I've been
Bert,
retired now 20 years.
you've been retired 20
20
years.
years, yeah.
So what have you been doing now the last 20 years?
Oh, whatever I could do.
Whatever you can do.
Having to stop. Well, we used to do a bit of traveling around. You know, we made several trips to Ontario, and we
Yeah.
drove up to Ottawa 3 times, and
Oh, yes.
we've been over to PEI and New Brunswick and
Yeah.
Quebec. Last time, the wife,
So-
wife got a cousin living in on the Gas Peninsula. We
Okay,
drove
yeah.
up to her about 4 years ago, I guess. We drove up there. That's
So Uncle
the-
Bert, how old are you now?
I was 82 the 1st of June.
82 in the year
First of June.
2000.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. And I'm going to thank you now for doing this little interview, and you'll probably see it on the tape when it's all done.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Very good. How's it going now?